Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some high poly modeling techniques, some attention to detail stuff that I think is useful, and I'm going to do that by making a chair, a different chair. I'm actually going to model off a reference. This is the pipe armchair by Sebastian Herkner. I think it's cute. I don't know if it's comfortable. I know, I mean, that looks fuzzy, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about like the back support and stuff, but that's not really important. I just think it has some good aspects to it that I think will help us learn some new modeling techniques. So the first thing I'm going to model is one of these metal frame sort of things. You can't really tell. Let's try to see if we can get a better angle. They're two separate things. They're not connected, but they are symmetrical. So I'm just going to start by modeling one, and then I'm going to mirror it across the axis here. So first thing I'm going to do is make a cylinder. We know how to do that by now. I'm going to do it by pressing this poly modeling button, but again, there are other ways to do it. You can go through the create menu, or you can hold shift right click to open up this little quick menu. So this is not obviously the wrong way. This is the wrong way. So I'm going to press the rotate button, and then, so that's E, and I'm going to press J, and if you hold J while rotating on an axis, it snaps to, I think, every like 15 degrees or so, something like that. All right, cool. So that is perfect. That is like the right angle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to DV, well, I'm going to, get into move mode, then DV to move the pivot point to the bottom. All right, so snap that, make sure that's on the bottom of the thing. Yep, that looks good. Then I'll hold X, and move up, and that'll snap the thing to the grid. And nope, I guess it wasn't on the bottom. I was wrong. All right, so I'm gonna move the pivot point. Yep, now it's on the bottom. Then I will do X, hold, move it up. Okay, cool. So there it is. It's on the axis. I'm gonna mirror across this axis here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move it over here so that it is somewhere. I'm going to try to have to decide on a scale for this. I'm going to scale it down to, yeah, about 1 unit, I think. Let me actually go into the top view for this. Scale it down, move it. I want it to be aligned with the grid somewhat. Should make our lives a little easier later. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. No, I lied. That looks awful. Like that. You can snap to the grid if you hold X and move, but it snaps to like the center points, and that's not really what I want. It is what I want. I've decided. Okay. Now I'm gonna scale it out. So obviously this thing is not long enough to be the bottom part. I'm gonna scale this to about a length of, I think, take about 6. No, I think that's too short. Let me look back at our reference. Yeah, it definitely's got to be longer than that. So take up 8. Let's have it take up 10. So 5 on each side there. Go back to the perspective view. Okay, yeah, something like that looks good. We can always change it later. All right, so we have one cylinder here. The next thing I'm going to talk about is how we can sorry. First, I'm going to rotate it a little bit because I realize that if we look at this thing, they are not straight. I wish this slideshow was faster. Come on. Oh man, none of these angles show it. Oh, we're getting there. We're slowly rotating. It's like slightly splayed out. I just know this because I already practiced modeling this, but I promise you that is the case. I'm not going to go through the slideshow, so I'm going to actually just rotate it slightly. Actually, no, I'm going to do that later. My bad. All right, so what I'm going to do now is we've created one cylinder. That's a good start. That's the bottom. We're going to do one of these. We're going to do the vertical cylinder now. If I do go through the slideshow a little bit, yeah, we can see that it is rotated slightly. You know, it's got a little diagonal bend to it. Oh, and you can see the diagonal bend on this at this angle too. But I'm just gonna model it straight on for now, and then I'm gonna add the bend later. So let's. I think if we look at these, I think they're exactly the same width. So I'm going to actually just duplicate this. So I'm going to hit Control D, and that creates a new version. You can't see it because it's right on top of it. There you go. I want to move it up. I'm going to rotate it again using J. So I hold J and then I rotate like this. Oh, that is not quite right. It doesn't want to snap. There we go. Okay, now it's vertical. And I'm going to just try to find, let's see. So if this whole thing is 10 units, I have to kind of gauge where that impact happens. Not the impact, but the combination. Where do they meld together? So this is also helping you, hopefully, look at a reference and model off it, because that's what you're going to be doing for the loop box. So yeah, it's good to find something like this where you can see the thing from multiple angles, but what you'll be modeling off of is 2D concept art, so that might not be an available thing for you. All right, so I think it's probably about 1.5 maybe units in. I'm just going to go with that. It doesn't have to be perfect for this demo purposes, but so yeah, I'm going to try to do it off that. Well, let's see if that looks good. I'm going to go in the top view to try to get a sense of that. So that's about one thing in. That's definitely not far enough. Yeah, something like that seems pretty good, I think. Okay, cool. So in the past video, what I did, the videos from last week, if I was combining objects, I would just stick them right inside each other like that. And that is, for the most part, fine. This is, in the past, having intersecting faces like this was kind of a problem for a lot of renderers. But in this case, I'm going to try to show you some better techniques, because sometimes you want models that are airtight, meaning that they do not have different objects like crammed into each other. Instead, it's all one mesh with like flowing geometry. So I'm going to show you how to combine these objects in a better way. So first of all, I do want to move it in somewhat so we can see what it would look like when it is inside. But you can see, I can see this little cylinder corner peeking out, which is not what I want. I think we do need to shrink this very slightly just to get them to intersect cleaner. The only things I want intersecting are these vertical lines. So what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm going to scale it down. Well, I actually just want to scale it on the thickness. So let me control and hold the Y handle, and that'll just do the X and Z's. Okay, that's definitely too much. It's hard to. I wish the handle wasn't all the way up here. It's hard for me to see. That's still too much. Like that. Okay, yeah, sure, that's good. We can see these appear to be still about the same thickness, but I've shrunk it just enough. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do combining. I don't really like. So one way is you could Boolean, which is an operation my will do for you. So if I hold them both, so I control select both of them. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I forget, I've been using this shortcut this whole time, and I haven't been telling y'all about it, I don't think. If you select an object and you press F, if you select anything and you press the F, the letter F, it'll frame in on that, so it'll just zoom, like, move the camera so you're like nicely zoomed in on that object. I keep forgetting to say that, but it's super useful, so please keep that in mind. Anyway, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so what I want to do is basically, if I just combine, well, let me show you the Boolean first of all. I'll select them both. I'll go to, I always forget what it is. Oh, I'm in the animation menu. I think edit, nope, it's just mesh. Booleans, union. So basically, a Boolean takes the two objects and then based on where they intersect, combines them into one mesh. But you'll see what happens if I do that. Let me show you. Now we have a million n-gons. Because basically anytime they intersect, it just tosses in a vertex. So we can see these faces here. This face, yeah, has, I think, 5 sides. This one has like 10 sides, something crazy like that. Because look at all these vertices on this face here. So I'm going to try to make it a little cleaner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a hole in this bottom thing that I can cleanly slot the other cylinder into. So let's try that. I'm going to undo the Boolean because I don't like how it looked. There we go. I don't know. My the undo menu is like super long because it like keeps track of every single tiny thing you did. So even though I think something is like one step ago, I still have to press undo like a million times to undo it. Anyway, okay, so right now I want basically all of these lines I want to end in a vertex down here. I'll show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this mode, the top view, and I'm going to cut. I'm just basically going to cut holes in this bottom mesh that match this. Actually, sorry, I don't like the placement of this. I'm going to move it slightly here. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so the reason I'm doing it in the top view is I can see exactly where the intersections are happening. And I'm going to go into the multi-cut tool. And this doesn't have to be exact, but actually, let me go into object mode, select this one, and let me make it into a wireframe. I'll just go into wireframe mode. This way I can really see exactly where they intersect. Okay, so now that I'm seeing this, I do want to scale it up slightly. Why I'm doing that is because I want that vertex to hit that other vertex, basically. You'll see why in a sec. But in doing so, I might actually undo the good work I did. Nope, I think we're good. All right, so now I'm going to take the multi-cut tool. I'm gonna select the other object. I don't want to cut to the top cylinder. I want to cut a hole in the bottom cylinder. So I'm gonna oh, well, first of all, I see why I'm having so many issues. I forgot to change the subdivisions. I always do this. This has 20 subdivisions on it, and it doesn't evenly work. How do I do that? Channel box. Duh. Polycylinder. By default, it's always 20, and I always forget to change it. I want these to have 16 subdivisions. First of all, I definitely want them to have the same amount of subdivisions. That way, their edges can flow cleanly into one another. But in this case, I always want 16 or 8, a multiple of 4. Sorry, I keep clicking the wrong things. Can I not change? Oh, no. Okay. It doesn't want to let me change the subdivisions on this one. I think I might have cleared the history. Whew. All right, let me undo just everything that I did. I'm going to duplicate this new one that has 16. I'm going to rotate it again. I'm going to hold J to get it to about 90 degrees. Yeah, I'm going to put it right where I had it on the 2 mark. And then I want to scale it slightly down. And then I'm going to have to move it over again. Okay, sorry about that. That's why that wasn't working. Well, that's partially why. I was shocked by how many holes I was going to have to cut. Or by how many vertices that was. Again, I'm trying to match up as many of these lines as possible because that will help with the edge flow. Okay, cool. So that looks good. And then I'm just going to go into the top view. I don't know why I'm trying to do this in the tiny version. All right, I'm going to take the multi-cut tool, and I'm going to cut holes in this mesh. Basically, something like this. Yeah. So this isn't perfect. I'm trying to, when I can, put them on the existing geometry. Sometimes they're not quite right. Did I forget? Hold on. Okay, yeah. I want to cut them on the existing geometry. But 1, 2, 3, 4. This isn't lining up the way that it did when I practiced it. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna just cut only on the existing geometry, and I'll figure out. Okay, I see. I think I have to go all the way down here. It's hard to tell from the vertical lines. So actually, let me. I'm probably just gonna re-record this video, but maybe I won't if I nail this. I want this to match exactly the edges. And if we do that, you'll see how much nicer it lines up. Wow. It is, because I did the uniform scaling, it's not quite right. Okay, yeah, and I just scaled it down too much. Okay, something like that. Looks good. Okay, no, let's just say this video is probably practice. Okay, now what I'm going to do is you can see these line up way better. This is the reason why I wanted to have the same amount of edges on each. Because if we pop this here, we can see these vertices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to merge them eventually. So the fact that they are basically lined up is really nice. So I'm going to do that, and it won't let me do this one. It will. Okay. This one, this one, this one. I don't have to say this one for each of them. Okay, and I'll close it. Okay, so now if I go into here, we'll see. It's hard to tell. Let me move the other object out because I was just using it to position. Oops, don't want to move it. We can see I've now made a bunch of new edges. I'm going to delete the faces here. So I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to select all of the faces. And then I'm just going to hit delete. Okay, cool. So we have this hole. And I'm going to basically just plug this thing directly in that hole. So I'm going to delete all the faces on here. Because we do not want interior faces. That's just useless polygons. And I'm going to move this thing. Well, definitely not in this view. In this view, object mode, try to just move it so down enough that I will be able to see where the things intersect. Okay, so we can see now that I basically just want to combine this edge to, well, this edge to this edge, this edge to this edge, this edge to this edge, and that edge to that edge. So it's gonna, those are gonna have flow to them. That's the goal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to combine them. So that doesn't actually combine them, like, it doesn't do what I just said. Like, these are not one object now, but they are for Maya's purposes. Like, I can now select both of them at once just by clicking. The reason I'm doing that is because otherwise it won't let us snap verts to each other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take each of these verts and I'm just going to snap it to the vert, its corresponding vert in the hole. So if I click this one, so that's the one on the cylinder, I'm going to hold V and I'm just going to click this middle part and just drag it so V basically makes it snap to vertices. So I'm going to hold this, I'm going to snap to that vertice. I'm going to do this all the way around. So this is a really clean way to combine objects. We can see this works best when they have the same amount of edges, just because now we've created these nice edge loops, right? Nice flowing geometry, which is exactly what you want. So obviously this is a lot more time consuming than just popping in just like inserting the cylinder into the other one, but it's a lot cleaner. Cool. So if we take a look at this, now we have the object. It's all one object rather than two objects intersecting, which is important for some game engines. Some rendering things have difficulties with intersecting faces. Okay, so one thing I will note is that these are not actually combined. So if I move one of the vertices, they're two different vertices. They're just directly on top of each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of those verts. And rather than, I would expect 16, right, because that's how many vertices there are on the bottom of the cylinder, but there's 32, because again, they are all directly on top of each other. So I'm going to hit the Merge Vertice button. It's this one, Merge Vertices. Click that, and then you can set a distance threshold, basically like how far do you want to check if a vert is right next to it. basically how close do two verts have to be for them to be combined. In this case, they are directly on top of each other, so I don't have to edit that. And now if I move one of these, it should, yep, so now they don't separate like they did before. They're all combined. All right, the final thing I have to do is that process was pretty clean overall because they were the number of faces and edges of the two cylinders matched up perfectly, right? Except this one right here and this one here. If we look at these faces, those are endgons. Well, they have 5 sides because there's an extra vertex here. So this one has 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4 side, 5 sides because of this vertex. So I'm going to add an edge loop that is going to basically create some new geometry so that won't happen. So I'm going to try and line this up. In fact, let me do it in the side view or the front view. Try to line this up as perfectly as I can. Something like that. Okay. And for some reason, it doesn't like doing that last part. So I have to go into the multi-cut, and I just have to connect these last two myself. Like that. And like that. Okay, cool. So now we have nice faces. All right, cool. So let me talk about, so basically everything I've done so far has been pretty low poly. I mean, 16 subdivisions is pretty fairly high for a low poly mesh, but other than that, I haven't tried using the smooth mesh preview. So if I do that, we can see that this thing freaks out. It's not, this isn't what I want. This looks like, I don't know what this looks like, some sort of weird boot. So it's not paying attention to this this here or this here. It's saying those edges don't really matter. So we're going to smooth them out, make a nice curve. So basically I need to add some more geometry around those, so in order to enhance, to make sure that it hardens those edges. So I'm going to add one here. And we can see now that I've told Maya that this should be an edge loop, it now like creates these nice edge loops around the whole object. So Maya's really smart. If you have nice clean geometry, it'll help you it knows that I want to create an edge loop around this whole edge just by going to the multi-cut and holding control. So now if I press 3, we can see that it is better, right? It's not perfect. This part in particular needs a little more definition, so I'm actually going to put one on the other side as well. So let me exit the multi-cut. Doesn't like what I'm doing. Now I'll hit the multi-cut. Does it not like it? Doesn't like it. I'm just going to create another one closer to the thing. Let's see if that helps. Yep. Look how sharp that edge is now. I probably want to do one on the other side as well. Something like that. Okay, look at that. Okay, cool. So now we have this nice high poly. Let me turn off wireframes so you can actually see it. This doesn't look great. I'll fix that in the next video. But other than that, this thing looks pretty sweet. Also, we got some cucumber type stuff happening here. So again, this is a thing with cylinders. It doesn't pay much attention. It doesn't want to harden this edge because there's not enough geometry. So I'm actually going to add another. In fact, actually, I'll leave that to the next video too. All right, cool. So I think that's a good start. That's how you combine stuff to make a nice smooth geometry. It's obviously a little different for each cylinder, but the main takeaways there is that if you want to combine things, you want to make sure that their vertices match up well. Their edges match up well. So basically, usually what that means is you want to make sure they have the same amount of subdivisions and edge loops so that there's like a 1-to-1 ratio between the two objects. We'll probably be doing that some more in this class, so you don't have to totally understand the process at this point, but I think that's a good start. All right, see you in the next one.